Good afternoon. We'll begin with an invocation from Fire Captain Troy Holtorf.
Father, as we begin to pray, I am reminded of what you tell us in your book. Instead of praying using all our words, you would rather us use all our heart. So today, Lord, we pray a short, simple prayer from the heart. We have plans here today, Lord. May they be your plans. We have a way here today, Lord. May it be your way. We have people here today, Lord. May they be your people. We have a mission here today, Lord. May it be your mission. Above all, Lord, may we have your heart. Would you help us to remember that we live under a God who has a heart like no other, who is for his people, and specifically for the people of Phoenix, Arizona. A heart for everyone in this room. I pray we rest in and respond to that heart today. It's in Christ's name. Amen.
Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance. We'll now call to order the formal meeting of the Phoenix City Council for December 6th, 2023. We'll begin with a roll call.
Councilwoman Guardado.
Here.
Councilwoman Hodge-Washington.
Here.
Councilwoman O'Brien.
Here.
Councilwoman Pastor.
Here.
Councilman Robinson.
Here.
Councilwoman Stark.
Here.
Councilman Waring. Vice Mayor Ansari.
Here.
Mayor Gallego.
Here. We'll introduce our interpreter. Maria, would you please provide an introduction?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Hello, my name is Mario Barajas, and together with my colleague Carmen Cota, we'll be serving as today's Spanish interpreters for the meeting. I'll now take a moment to introduce ourselves to our Spanish-speaking audience. Hola, buenas tardes. Yo soy Mario Barajas y junto con mi colega Carmen Cota estaremos sirviéndoles hoy como intérpretes a los de habla hispana. Deseamos pedirles de antemano, si es que van a dar un comentario público, por favor, hable despacio, con claridad y evite tener distracciones de fondo. Finalmente, pause después de cada una o dos oraciones para que podamos interpretar lo que esté diciendo de la manera más completa posible. Muchas gracias. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Will the city clerk please read the 24-hour paragraph?
The titles of the following ordinance and resolution numbers on the agenda were available to the public at least 24 hours prior to this council meeting and therefore may be read by title or agenda item only. Ordinances number G7172, 7194 through 7201, S50357 through 50409, and resolutions 22169 through 22174.
Will the city attorney please explain the role of public comment?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Members of the public may speak for up to 2 minutes to comment on agenda items. Comments must be related to the agenda item and the action being considered by the council. General comments that go beyond the scope of the agenda item must be made in the citizen comment session at the end of the agenda. The City Council and staff cannot discuss or comment on matters related to pending investigations, claims, or litigation. Additionally, any members of the public who appear before Council in their capacity as a lobbyist must, as required by City Council Code, disclose this fact before addressing Council. The City Code requires speakers to present their comments in a respectful and courteous manner. Profane language, threats, or personal attacks on members of the public, council members, or staff are not allowed. A person who violates these rules will lose the opportunity to continue to speak.
Thank you. We have item 1 and 2, our formal meeting minutes. We'll begin with item 1. Councilwoman Guardado, do you have a motion?
Motion to approve item 1.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Nay. Item 2 is the formal meeting minutes from 2/17/21. Councilwoman Pastor.
I move item number 2.
Second.
Any comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Passes unanimously. And I want to do a brief explanation of my attire today. I had a bet with the mayor of Arlington, Texas, the home city of the Texas Rangers, and if the winning mayor got to eat the finest food of the other city and then send a jersey to the mayor of the team that did not win the World Series. So I am fulfilling my bet today. Was originally scheduled to do it at our last council meeting, but unfortunately we lost Councilwoman Williams, and it seemed more appropriate to honor her at that meeting. So that is the explanation for the timing. The mayor of Arlington is a huge fan of pizza, so we are sending Pizzeria Bianco to remind him that we have the very best pizza. But I want to apologize for my attire and for people being sworn in today. If you'd prefer a better dressed person to swear in, let me know. Item 3 is boards and commissions. Vice Mayor, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve mayor and city council boards and commissions nominations as revised.
We have a motion and a second. Jeremy Thacker for public comment.
In the past, I've been an advocate for the Ethics Commission and ethics reform here at the city. But now I wonder why we would waste time and money on an ethics commission when there hasn't been a single violation miraculously in the last decade at the city of Phoenix. Amazingly, the city hasn't experienced a single ethics violation or conflict of interest in the last decade, despite being one of the largest cities in the country, where other cities have experienced dozens, hundreds, or thousands of them. Why would we need this? Clearly, I'm being sarcastic here, but we absolutely need ethics reform, and the ethics commission members who are being assigned to this, I hope that the first thing you'll do is review the ethics commission policy, which is terrible. It provides no outside oversight. It still relies on the city council to give supermajority vote to approve any changes to it or to approve any violations at all. And it penalizes people for bringing issues to the Ethics Commission. So I'm excited that we're putting something in place, but I'm still concerned that it's not near enough. And I'm hoping that you'll review all of the pest ethics complaints that have been submitted, that have been put in a drawer and never reviewed and never completed by the city, which is just beyond the pale. But so that's it. Thanks. Good luck.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Items 4 through 20 are related to liquor license. The City of Phoenix provides an advisory role. Oh, we do have the swearing in. Do we? I'm sorry, I was trying to get out of it with my pour. Please raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Richard Arroyo,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
and the Constitution and laws of the State of Arizona,
the Constitution and laws of the state of Arizona,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and bear faith and allegiance to the same,
and defend them against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
and defend them against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
and that I will faithfully and impartially
and will faithfully and impartially
discharge the duties of the office of
discharge the duties of the office of Civil Service Board, Deer Valley Village Planning Committee,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my abilities.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you and congratulations. We appreciate your service. If you would go behind, the council members would like to thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to our commissioners for, in many cases, real long-time service to our city on very important boards. Now to liquor licenses. Do we have a motion on items 4 through 20?
Motion to approve items 4 through 20.
Second.
Motion and second. Any comments? All, roll call. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Passes unanimously. City Clerk, are we ready for ordinances, resolutions, new business, planning, and zoning?
Yes, Mayor.
Vice Mayor.
Motion to approve items 21 through 105, except the following: items 29, 30, 32, 35, 37, 38, 39, 44, 54, 68, and 105, noting that item 29 has additional information. Items 95, 102, 103, and 104 are being continued to January 3rd, 2024, and excluding these items for virtual public comment: 45, 46, 65, and 89. Can the clerk confirm if there are any other items that should be excluded for in-person public comment?
Yes, Mayor. Vice Mayor. Also items 36, 42, 59, 67, 100, and 102. I will repeat items 36, 42, 59, 67, 100, and 102.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any comments? Roll call.
Guardado,
Yes.
Hodge Washington,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pastor,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Waring, Ansari,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Item 29 is the opportunity for our labor partners to comment on the proposed MOUs that they submitted last week. The public comment on the proposed MOUs that were submitted will take place next week at the December 13 formal council meeting. Do we have any labor leaders here to speak? All right. We will go to, I think, first Councilwoman Pastor and then Councilwoman O'Brien.
My question on item 29 is that I received a packet, this packet yesterday mid-afternoon. And this morning and this afternoon, I was trying to figure out the different changes that were being asked. And so it's not very clear in each of these agreements. And I just want to understand. I know we're voting next week, and so I want some clarity on that. Or is this a necessary process?
Mayor, members of council, Councilwoman Pastor, what you have in your packet is the proposed MOUs that were submitted by the labor groups. We don't have control over what they submit. That's just what they submitted to us. We put it in the packet. Today's meeting is for them to make comments on it. The public can make comments on the 13th next week. There'll be an agenda item to make public comments on those proposed MOUs. Then on January 6th, our negotiation process will begin.
Okay, so today is set up for public and members, representatives, or anybody to make a comment on what I received yesterday?
Mayor, members of council, today is just for the labor groups to
Okay.
present on what they submitted. Next Wednesday at the formal meeting on the 13th will be an agendized item for the public to make comment on it. So it'll also be included in that packet as well.
Okay, and so next Thursday, because I received this yesterday, I think 4 o'clock when I was walking out, actually 5, and didn't have the opportunity to really look at what the changes were, what they were asking. Some I could clearly see. So I guess I'm saying here's the opportunity for me to ask questions to them. And it looks like some of the labor unions or the unions aren't here to ask those questions, but I have to study this. So then next Thursday, I then have the ability, next Thursday, I think it's for the public, but will the labor unions be here so I can ask questions?
The item on the, sorry, Mayor, members of council, the item on the agenda for the formal council meeting on the 13th is for public comment on the proposed
Only?
MOU. Yes.
Okay. So at what point can I ask the labor unions questions as to what they put in the pocket? Because I'm going to go out on blackout, or what isn't it? So this is my only opportunity. I'm just asking.
Yeah, Mayor, members of council, Councilwoman Pastor, that is correct. The meeting or the ordinance is set up to where today's meeting is for them to make comments on what they submitted. It doesn't appear that any of the labor groups are here to make those comments. And then the next meeting is for the public to make comments. And then further through the negotiation, when we get towards the tail end of the negotiation, then those contracts come back to council to be ultimately voted on.
I know, but I guess my question is because I'm going to go on what I don't think the general public understands, like when I go on blackout, but basically I cannot speak about any of these contracts. And so right now is the opportunity for me to ask questions at the packet that I received. And what I'm hearing is labor isn't here for me to ask those questions. Next week is public comment. I can't ask those questions to the public. And so at what point can I ask questions?
Mayor, members of council, Councilwoman Pastor, that blackout period you speak to starts at this council meeting. So per the ordinance, labor groups have December 1st till December 1st to submit these proposed MOUs to us. They get filed with the city clerk and are placed in the packet for the next council meeting, which is today, December 6th. At that point, the blackout period begins and it runs through May 1st.
Okay, so then I lose the opportunity to ask questions. That's what I'm hearing. So may I make a request for the future that we receive these earlier so that then if I have questions, I can ask those questions before I'm now placed in blackout? It's unfair.
Mayor, members of council, Councilwoman Pastor, per the ordinance, the labor groups have until December 1st to submit those proposals. So yes, we can try to get them out after that, but just know that the time frame is set by the ordinance, that December 1st date that they have to turn them in till.
Understood.
Councilwoman O'Brien.
Thank you, Mayor. And I do appreciate Councilwoman Pastor's comments. I also was trying to determine what changes had been made, expecting either, highlights. A summary would have been lovely, but I would have been happy with highlights and red markouts just so it could be denoted in there. My concern, in addition for just my own education in understanding the difference between them, is additionally, how could the public, without having to go page by page through both of them, know what has changed and what are they being asked in order to be able to be well informed to ask questions? So I'm not sure how, if we have to change the ordinance or what kind of conversation we have to have, but it would be incredibly helpful to have summaries and marked changes. Additionally, I would hope that when the new ones are posted, we also have a link to the current ones so that our public doesn't have to go digging for the current MOUs with our groups. Mayor.
Thank you. And when these do come forward, typically you do have a redlined version for vote. So I think that is very helpful to both us and the public. Councilwoman Gordado.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to make sure that we can just clarify a little bit here. Can we just talk a little bit about, these are not agreements, right? I mean, this is not an agreement. This is just what the unions are asking for. Can you just answer that, please?
Yeah, Mayor, members of council, what you have in your packet there is what was submitted by the labor groups as a proposed MOU. So per our ordinance, they have till December 1st, like I mentioned, to submit that. The actual negotiation process begins after January 6th. So that's when the actual negotiation process. So these aren't agreements, these are what the labor groups have proposed to have included in their MOUs.
Right, because I think, I think part of the reason why, at least what I've learned in the last few years, part of the reason they're not there is just that these are just proposals, right? This is just still pending negotiation between the attorneys and, pending our budget, what we can do and what we cannot do, right? I mean, I find it a little bit difficult for them to come in and say, this is what we want, because it could be very confusing, I think, for the members, for the unions to come in and say, this is the sky and this is everything that we want, and then have them, and I think it causes confusion with the members if they feel that this is maybe what they're getting. I'm assuming that's part of the reason they're not there today, just because it does make it confusing for the members to think that they're going to get one thing if they don't understand the negotiations haven't happened. Is that maybe one of the reasons why they're not there today?
Mayor, members of council, I can't comment on why labor is not here to make comments, but they did submit their proposed MOUs as required by December 1st.
Right. I mean, I find it, I think I have my own opinions on them submitting, but I do understand the frustration that's out there right now in terms of understanding what was there and what wasn't there. So I guess for me, I look forward to the negotiations. I know that it's going to be a challenging year for us to go through these negotiations. But I do understand where some of the frustrations are coming from. From the council. But I do think that it's going to be a challenging time for all of us as we're looking at these negotiations, but I'm hopeful that we'll be able to come up that everyone will be able to come up with something that makes sense. When does the blackout period start again?
Mayor, members of council, the blackout period begins today on the council meeting that the proposals submitted, the proposed MOUs that were submitted are the opportunities afforded to labor is when that blackout period begins. So it would be today, December 6th. And it runs through May 1st.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Vice Mayor, did you have a comment? Oh, who had a comment? Councilman Hodge Washington.
Yes, Mayor. I just wanted to echo the sentiments of Councilman Pastor and O'Brien. It's very difficult for us to have an understanding of this without, one, the document for comparison's sake, the existing MOU, as well as understanding where the items or the changes were made, particularly without a red line or some version. And I also find the time frame in which these documents were delivered to us a bit troubling. I think we all like to be prepared for our roles, and it's difficult to review this level of information given to us the day before. So I would hope at least by the time it goes back out for public comment, we do have something that gives us and the public an understanding of where the proposed changes are, or what a little bit more clarity in understanding the changes or the requests that are being made from our employer organizations. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item is item 80, amendments to the pay ordinance. I will be supporting, well, I guess we'll first do a motion.
30.
Out of 30.
Move to approve item 30.
Second.
Motion and a second. I will be supporting this item because I believe these pay adjustments will significantly increase transparency at this city. It has been frustrating and concerning for many of us that there's an extensive backlog of public records requests at the police department. We have a duty to do better. My office has been pushing on this for months, and one of the things we've learned is that there's a higher vacancy rate than is ideal for the records clerk at the department. The current salary range isn't in line with the market. This vote will adjust that by moving the position up 10 pay grades. I hope that it will make it easier to attract and retain candidates. I want to thank staff for working with us to make this change, and I appreciate their commitment to getting through the public records backlog as quickly as possible. And to our public records staff, thank you for the work that you do, including redacting what are very emotional records with some difficult crimes. Any additional comments? Roll call.
Guardado,
Yes.
Hodge Washington,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pastor,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Waring, Ansari,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Next item is item 35, legal services. Do we have a motion? 32. Next item is 32.
Move to approve item 32.
Motion and a second.
I had a comment on number 32, Mayor.
Councilwoman Hunt Washington.
Yes. I just had a couple questions about item 32 and understanding the time frame in which our background check works.
Mayor, Councilwoman, David Matthews is coming up from the Human Resources Department.
Thank you. I wanted to understand the time frame in which we look back on someone's criminal history as part of our background screening. And my better question is it dependent on the position that the individual is applying for?
Mayor, members of council, the criminal history check is not dependent on the position. If a criminal history check is selected, it is ran. What it is dependent on is certain states limit the available information to consumer reporting agencies, which is what a background vendor falls under. So for example, California limits conviction records to 7 years. So the only thing our background vendor would receive would be 7 years of that. Other states do not have a limit on the conviction, so as long as the statute of limitations hasn't ran out and it's on their record, we would then receive it.
So if the individual has a criminal history, it is something that we don't look at necessarily in determining whether or not that person is qualified for the position they're looking for?
Mayor, members of council, we run the criminal history on new employees. Depending on the position and what the crime is and how long it was, is all considered in the hiring process,
Okay.
if we get that far.
So, and we take the same approach when it comes to volunteers as well?
Yes, we do.
So the reason I'm asking this question is we had a recent situation where an individual applied for a position, and we did not, in my opinion, properly conduct a criminal background on that matter. And it could have been quite embarrassing to the city if that was, we were able to find that information through a quick Google search. So I just want to make sure that and when we're doing this, we are not holding this against the individual, but we are making sure that that information is at least being recorded, so we are aware of that information.
Mayor, members of council, I believe the situation you are speaking to, the crime happened over 7 years ago, and the state that it occurred in is one of those states that limit the records they turn over to 7 years.
Okay.
So
But
it did not appear on the background check.
That is correct. Okay. Thank you. I just want to make sure that we are having some way of capturing that so that we can make an informed decision. At least we know what is going on. That's my only point. Thank you.
Councilman Waring.
So do you do any searches of, like, Google? There's a newspaper report. There was in this case. It was right there. Took 2 seconds.
Mayor, members of council, so our background vendor company that we use, that is this item here, does do an adverse media search, it's called, but it only goes back 7 years of records as well. So the adverse media in this situation also was from more than 7 years ago, so it did not appear in their search.
And I'm just curious, Madam Chair, probably every single person in this room has done one Google search in their life. How do you limit it to 7 years? Because most people, they don't have news reports and so forth. So I'm curious, did they look at it and go, oh, it was more than 7 years ago, not going to tell the guys? Is that literally what happened? Because otherwise, how would the search engine know I'm only going back 7 years?
Yeah, Mayor, members of council, my understanding is if the article was more than 7 years ago, it doesn't get reported out on the background, but we are working with our vendor right now to see what can be done on the adverse media check piece.
Like, they should have said, hey, you might want to take another look. Yeah, I don't know. Didn't seem like that would be so hard. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Councilwoman Pastor.
I understand logically the 7 years. However, we as a council are placing people on boards and commissions. And I think there needs to be a thorough background check, especially on very specific boards that they would be serving. And it would be very embarrassing if, to us, not knowing, and we trust our staff and doing the research and the work, that then that hadn't been done. I think it's very important, even going back, just research on them, period. And maybe we identify what specific commissions and boards, but a simple Google search popped up a bunch of stuff that we would have never known about and possibly moved the name forward. And then it would have been egg on our face. And I think that's what we're trying to get at. So we have to do a better job or find a better mechanism to be able then to look at the whole picture. So I think that's where we're coming from, to be, first of all, embarrassed, because then we didn't do it, and then secondly, become unaware of it, and then we're going to have to be able to defend not only our vote, but also defend the staff that was in the process of doing it. And so I just think we need to be a little bit more conscious and cognizant and create maybe a different type of policy or pattern of how we do that.
Yeah, Mayor, members
my
of council,
recommendations.
we are currently exploring alternative methods to conduct that adverse media search that would go back further. So we are exploring alternative options there.
Thank you.
Councilwoman O'Brien.
Thank you so much, Mayor. I, too, had some concerns, and I want to first thank you, David, for the lengthy conversations we had yesterday going back and forth, because this caused me to have lots of questions. And much like Councilwoman Pastor, I would request that we evaluate other options and how we're doing processing some of this. I think it's important for us to have the information and be able to make an informed decision rather than not have the information. So thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Roll call.
Guardado.
Yes.
Hodge Washington.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Pastor.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Stark.
Yes.
Waring.
Yes.
Ansari.
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Item 35, legal services. Vice Mayor.
Move to approve item 35.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any comments? Councilman Waring.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this is money for lawyers regarding our Department of Justice issue. It's really a financial drop in the bucket for what this is going to cost us. If you've read either of Taylor Seeley's articles in the Republic here just in the last few days, it's not hard to see that the future we may be in an adversarial position with the Department of Justice. So I guess my first question is, how long does this $1.5 million last us?
So, Mayor and Council, this contract is just through the end of June of next year.
So I guess I shouldn't have said it like that, not like a date, like where do we expect we'll be in the process at that point? I guess another way of putting it was, I don't want anybody to think this is taking us all the way through like litigation or something, or not even close.
Mayor and Council, that is correct. We do not know where we will be at in the process as of next year, which is why we just extended it to that point, and then we would further evaluate what our needs are at that point next year.
Based on other cities' experience, Mayor, Julie, you know, this is a drop in the bucket. Literally, this could be well over $10 million and counting. It's kind of an open-ended thing. Does this guarantee that the attorney who's representing us now is taking us all the way through litigation? I mean, if we wanted to switch, and I'm not saying don't have confidence in our attorney, it's just there might be a better person if the situation changes and we're no longer, I guess you would say, semi-cooperating with the Department of Justice, and it became more court-based adversarial. Like what then? We could switch, right?
So Mayor and Council, yes, certainly next year we can evaluate where we're at, and we can have those discussions about the best course of action depending on, you know, what we're doing with the investigation.
So we can reevaluate this. I am not criticizing our attorney or you guys or anybody in any way. However, we were just on the last item talking about Google searches. As I mentioned, I've done at least one in my life, and one I did was looking up our attorney. I'm not saying it's true. I'm not saying anything about it. I'm just saying somebody complained about exorbitant fees. I'm not saying that had any merit or anything, but I assume if I can do that Google search, members of the audience and reporters can too. I want to make sure they don't come back at me and go, hey, you really overpaid for this for what you're getting. So you're confident, as somebody who works in the legal profession, I don't, that we are getting the best bang for our buck and that we're, you know, spending the money appropriately, because it is a lot of money and it's going to be a lot more.
Mayor and Council, certainly attorneys charge a wide range of rates, and we have a lot of firms that we work with quite closely that give us a lot of cut rates from what they might charge, you know, other clients. I would say in this case, we've also gotten a cut rate from what this attorney and I think this firm would charge. But certainly going forward, we can do another evaluation of what other firms and other attorneys might charge and provide that information to council so that we can make the best decision for the city going forward.
And again, Mayor, I'm not criticizing. It's just I don't have enough information or really a way to go poll a whole bunch of attorneys who do this kind of work. That's just not realistic to find out what a reasonable hourly rate was. So I just kind of wanted to, frankly, get ahead of something that may come up as we spend more and more money on this. Certainly make you guys cognizant of if you weren't before. And again, I'm not saying the assertion, it's on the internet, so it's probably false. But, you know, realistically, I want to make sure that you were aware that that was out there, and I want to make sure that we were covered, just like on the last item, frankly. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Councilman Robinson.
Mayor, thank you very much. Along those same lines, Julie, if I could, with regard to this contract with Steptoe, we're obligated, or what we're authorizing is $1.5 million up until June. And as Councilman Waring was alluding to, let's say something changes and we take a different course of action in February or different course in February or March. We're just not obligated to pay them $1.5 million. It's just what they've used up until that point, which they will bill us for, billable hours. That's all delineated. We can see what it is, and then we move on from there. Is that accurate?
Mayor and Council, that is accurate, and quite frankly, at any point, the city could decide to change direction with council. We are not obligated also to keep the same council. So we are not obligated to spend that much money. We're just authorizing up to that amount for services rendered.
Okay, thank you very much, Mayor. Thank you. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you. Roll call.
Guardado.
Yes.
Hodge Washington.
Yes.
O'Brien. Pastor.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Stark.
Yes.
Waring.
Yes.
Ansari.
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Item 37, temporary modular housing QVL, Councilwoman Hodge Washington.
Thank you, Mayor.
36, okay.
Oh, sorry.
Item 36, Vice Mayor.
Move to approve item 36.
Second.
Motion and a second. Leslie Shepherd.
Hello. Hello? Okay, the AG issue. Is that working?
Can you please hold on? Your microphone's not working. He's going to come.
Hello again. The AG issued a new ruling a couple weeks ago that states the descriptions at issue, scheduling a year's worth of e-sessions and provided agendas could have provided more detail without compromising confidentiality. Questions about whether to include or more detailed descriptions in an executive section agenda should be resolved in favor of openness in government whenever possible. I think it kind of ties in with what you guys were saying, you know, getting it up front so you can actually look it over and make a decision. I think it kind of ties in with this point, so I'll just make it really short. Thank you.
Roll call.
Guardado.
Yes.
Hodge Washington.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Mayor, may I explain my vote?
Please do.
So I'm going to vote yes for this item because this is merely the dates that put them on the calendar. When we get to the time, we do the proper postings and provide the information that that meeting will be on. So my vote is a yes.
Pastor.
Yep.
Robinson.
Yes.
Stark.
Yes.
Waring.
Yes.
Ansari.
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Item 36, Councilwoman Hodge Washington.
Thank you, Mayor.
37.
37, thank you. I have a couple questions for the department before we move forward. I want to preface my comments by saying that I am a fan of the temporary modular units. As we saw, they were an important tool in helping the city address the court order and addressing the situation around the zone. And they were widely well received by not just the residents, the individuals who were actually who they made them their home, but the providers that we established them with. However, I want to make sure that the qualified vendor list is not used the way we have seen it in the past. In my opinion, did not work. I want to go through a couple of things real quick. What zoning is needed for the temporary modular homes?
Mayor, Councilwoman Hodge Washington, that's a question that depends on the site and the underlying zoning that's on there, and we'd have to defer that to our Planning and Development Department in terms of they haven't given us a definitive answer. It's kind of it depends.
Okay. Well, let me ask it this other way. What is, under the current usage of the qualified vendor list, the department unilaterally makes the decision on where the project would be placed, correct?
Mayor, Councilman Hodge Washington, in this scenario for a future project, we plan on working with the council member whose district the project would be sited in, and the rest of the council prior to bringing anything forward.
You said you intend to, but my question is your current practice or what you've done in the past was not to necessarily take that route, correct?
Councilman Hodge Washington, in the past, we have, with the exception of the emergency situation with standing up some temporary lodging to address the encampment around the Human Services campus. We have worked with council offices.
So the answer was no, you did not necessarily bring it to the council member whose district it was in beforehand, correct?
Councilman Hodge Washington, that's correct.
Okay. And at times it was done without really any community engagement or community outreach, correct? I want to make sure I'm outlining the preface as to why I have a concern with it. The way it's written, the department could spend up to $7 million without any coming back to city council approval through as long as 2030, I'm sorry, right?
Councilman Hodge Washington, in terms of the temporary lodging locations, we did not necessarily have an extensive outreach process for those emergency shelters, correct?
I'm trying to be diplomatic here. The process that it played out last time was that there was a lot of discussion that occurred regarding increasing the number of units in my district. And I found out literally 2 business days before the contract was supposed to go into effect. And the rationale that I was given is it did not need to come to me as a council member because they were on the qualified vendor list. Does that sound about correct?
Councilman Hodge Washington, I wouldn't characterize that as the rationale, but that was an effect of the situation we were in. The qualified vendor list did enable us to enter into contracts without coming back to council.
Yes, and the discussion took place where other members of the public and other individuals knew about this before I, as the representative that represent that certain council district. And there were other members of the public who had more information about this than I did. So that's the purpose. So I wanted to preface this. So my motion is to put some parameters regarding the use of the qualified vendors list. So my motion is to approve item 37 on the condition that staff must meet and confer with the council member in whose district the anticipated project is being contemplated. And it must be presented to the City Council for approval at least 60 days prior to entering into an agreement utilizing the temporary modular housing qualified vendor list.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any additional comments?
I have an
Councilwoman
additional
Pastor.
comment. I'm sorry. I understand the frustration, and I also know that as a council we have given, at a certain point we were like, get it done and make it happen. However, I strongly believe that every council member should know what's happening in their district, in any department, not just this one, but in any department, and this one in particular, because it's a very sensitive topic. And it's very difficult for us to go into our communities. And when communities already have heard conversations, and I'm probably guilty at that too, in conversations that I had previously heard, and I thought community knew, and so I opened my mouth. But in understanding that, I think it's wise that council is aware, and then council can also say, no, that's not the space where we want it in, and the reasons why, and the dynamics that are happening in that neighborhood, because we're probably the closest other than NSD, knowing those neighborhoods and the challenges they have. So I think I support this motion because of that, but I just feel this is something that happens within all departments, and it's a fight or a dialogue that I constantly have with the statement of, well, you passed this, and this is how we interpret what you passed, and this is how we're implementing, and you have no say. And I'm just speaking what we hear that is told to us and our interpretation. And so we probably should just do a better job across the board of not only communication, but how it's delivered and received, to have the dialogue. But you're in a very difficult area of human life, and how to be able to solve those issues that we're facing. So that's kind of my 2 cents and recommendation.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say that I think I'm supportive of this amendment for future projects, and I definitely understand. I think it's critical that council members are well informed. I do just want to applaud you and just recognize that in the situation of meeting a court order deadline where we wanted to make sure that we housed everyone who was at the zone, I think you did an incredible job, and that obviously could not have been done with 60 days notice in this situation. And so hopefully moving forward, obviously we work to have a more manageable plan, and I know you all are working incredibly hard to stand up hundreds and hundreds of more beds. And I also hope that when you do go to council districts, again, I really do hope that every council district steps up and we continue to look for opportunities for not only modular homes but shelters in every single council district, and not just the few that continue to lead on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Roll call.
Guardado,
Yes.
Hodge Washington,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pastor,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Waring, Ansari,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Item 38, Rio Fresco Emergency Shelter. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve item 38.
Second.
Second.
Jeff Caldwell.
Test, test. All right, there we go. Mayor, Council, I want to start off by saying I understand that we have a homelessness crisis, and we are short in necessity items to help with that issue. However, Maricopa County has been rumored to spend over $500 million over the last decade to help with homelessness, and it is well documented that they have spent over $100 million, and that is directly, the $100 million is directly from their website. However, since from 2016 until present day, homelessness has skyrocketed every single year. What we've done is put forth a housing first policy and throwing money at it. So I do greatly appreciate the efforts that are going into solving the homelessness issue. I just don't know if this is going to help or not. And it is a $5 million budgeted item. It brings the total contract to over $13 million. I am just continuously concerned about throwing money at an issue, implementing the same policies that haven't worked in the past. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilwoman Hodge Washington.
Thank you, Mayor. I have just a general question. My understanding is the Rio Fresco Emergency Shelter is currently operated in D8, correct?
Mayor, Councilwoman Hodge Washington, that's correct.
And what I read here is that, like, you're looking to expand the shelter operations to a new shelter in Council District 3, correct?
That is correct. We're utilizing that contract, the original contract for hotel operations to add another site in their scope of work.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, is there a reason it's listed as citywide on the packet?
If I could address that, Councilman Hodge Washington, the citywide was because it was more than one district, and so we just noted citywide versus one district or the other. The hotel that's currently, we're contracting for additional funding for CBI for the hotel is in District 3.
Because the other items have their specific council district identified, even if it's 1, 2, or 3 districts listed, and this one said citywide. I was just curious as to why.
Apologies, Councilwoman. It was just a mistake, I believe. I don't have an answer for why we didn't have it in the 2 districts as opposed to citywide. Apologies.
Thank you.
Roll call.
Guardado,
Yes.
Hodge Washington,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pastor,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Waring, Ansari,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Item 39 with St. Vincent de Paul. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve item 39.
Councilwoman Hodge Washington.
Thank you, Mayor. Same question, similar question for item number 39. The additional beds that are under St. Vincent de Paul, where are they located?
Mayor, Councilwoman Hodge Washington, they are located at the Washington Street Shelter.
So they are in District 8, correct?
Correct.
And similar question, is there a basis as to why it's identified as citywide also when it's, again, congregated in District 8?
Mayor, Councilwoman Hodge Washington, I believe that we do that because the shelters serve people from citywide. They're not limited to just people from a certain district, but I apologize if that's not the correct thing to do. I'm not really sure.
Sorry. Part of my question's intent is to show how many of these are congregated in District 8, and it goes back to your use of the qualified vendor list. And again, I've mentioned this before, that these should not be consolidated in one district. In the past, the department has used the proximity to services as the basis for continuing to put them in certain districts versus others. And like Vice Mayor says, we need all districts to share in that burden. It should not be, in addition to that burden and the responsibility of taking care of all Phoenicians, it should not just be congregated in District 8. And that's another reason I think we need to do a better job of continuing to bring these projects to the respective council member and not try to bypass them. So thank you.
Thank you. I would add, not only should they not be concentrated in one council district, they should not be concentrated in one city. There was a plan when we originally built the Human Services Campus that other communities would have major hubs for services. The overwhelming majority of new beds built since the COVID-19 pandemic impacted our communities are in Phoenix, and we need other cities to step up. People are more likely to have better outcomes if they can stay near their friends and families, if kids can stay near schools. And so this is not a Phoenix crisis. It is much, much broader than that. Councilman Waring.
Thank you, Mayor. So I don't disagree with the premise. It's not the fault of our staff that we spent a lot of money on this. The situation has seemed to get worse, although improvements recently. It's definitely, I think, definitely shown a little bit of a turnaround here recently, so hats off for that, as was mentioned earlier. But some of what we do is kind of driven by court rulings and laws that are outside of our control, correct? I mean, in order to get somebody off the street, you literally have to have some place to put them, and if the population grows through fault of the global economy or the national economy or COVID or whatever, the population has increased. So we've had to increase the number of beds, or you can't tell people to get off the streets. That's a layman's interpretation of a bunch of different laws, but that's substantially correct if I had to boil it down, right?
Mayor, Councilman Waring, that is correct. In order for us, for the city or any jurisdiction to be able to enforce any no camping, sleeping type ordinances, or to really ask someone to vacate an area in the public right-of-way, there has to be either an indoor shelter location or an alternative location where they could camp.
And not unlike our conversation about the Department of Justice earlier, or coming conversations, I mean, those weren't decisions made by us. Those were decisions made by people who don't even live in Arizona and may never even have visited Phoenix or Arizona, correct?
Councilman Waring, that's correct. It comes out of court decisions primarily in the Ninth Circuit.
So, I mean, we're sort of hamstrung if we want to try to address the issue, that being getting people off the street for their own safety, for our communities, you know, basically enjoyment of parks and whatever else that might get wrecked if people are living in them instead of using them appropriately. We have to take certain actions. One thing did occur to me, though, to the mayor's point, you know, if the fire department gets a call for service and they're the closest truck, they'll cross city borders to put out the fire. They're not going to say, oh, well, that's Tempe's problem, even though we can see the fire from our station or something. That's not the way that works. What about if our officers encounter a homeless person and the closest shelter is not in Phoenix? Unlikely, because we have most of the shelters, but does that ever happen? Are we obligated to keep the people in Phoenix housed in Phoenix, meaning Phoenix taxpayers have to fund the project and not, somebody else.
Councilman, if Rachel may have something additional to add to this, but we're functioning under a regional, in actuality, a regional homeless care system, the continuum of care, and so there aren't any boundaries that require us to keep any folks seeking shelter in Phoenix, and conversely, other communities don't have to keep, if they even had a shelter, wouldn't necessarily be required to keep them in their city. But did you have anything to add, Rachel?
No, not necessarily, no.
I mentioned Tempe specifically, Mayor, Gina, Rachel, because there have been a couple articles. Tempe just reinstituted its park ranger program, and then there was an article a few months ago about, I think, their riverbed. I think it might have been by Madeline Parrish, that was saying they were trying to steer their homeless population our direction. Well, two can play at that game. So, at some point, to the mayor's point, I'm not saying she made it exactly like I'm making it, but that's irritating, to say the least. We're footing the bill. And so if there is a way to say, hey, there is a particular border where there's a lot of this activity or something, let's put something in your neck of the woods that can service this population. I don't know how we could enforce that, but certainly the more we can have those conversations, the better. I just think the burden has been on Phoenix for far too long. Thank you.
Roll call.
Guardado.
Yes.
Hodge Washington.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Pastor.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Stark.
Yes.
Waring. Ansari.
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Item 42 is our public library's annual application for the state library grants and aid funds.
Move to approve item 42.
Second.
A motion and a second. This is an exciting item. Among the things we can do with this grant, we are pursuing funding for the Workforce Center at Ocotillo Library to offer classes in resume writing and computer use, and also investing in critical early literacy outreach to help our youngest residents hopefully fall in love with reading. We have Leslie Shepard.
The main thing that I would say here is just to please ensure that there's no sexually graphic materials available in the libraries. Right now, unfortunately, there's books that are saying how to have boy-on-boy sex, the different places to put it, different places to lick and kiss it. This is in our libraries for children. It's a shame that the governor vetoed a bill. I know that's not your issue, but it's something that you guys can be aware of. Thank you very much. I was getting right back to it.
Early literacy and resume writing.
Well, I think literacy, when you've got books that are perverted, should be counted. I mean, when you got books in there that are completely disgusting,
we're
it
not
should
buying
matter.
books with this grant.
You're what? You're not?
It's early literacy and workforce assistance. So could you comment on those
Okay.
topics?
I'm glad to know that you're making sure there's no perverted books. Thank you.
Any comments? Roll call.
Guardado.
Yes.
Hodge Washington.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Pastor.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Stark.
Yes.
Waring. Ansari.
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Item 44, do we have a motion?
Move to approve item 44.
Second.
Any comments?
Yes.
Councilman
I do.
Waring.
Actually, a question for Chris Mackey. Mayor, Chris, if you could explain in layman's terms kind of what we're doing here compared to what we did about 5 years ago.
I'd be happy to. Mayor, Councilman Waring, as we look at this transaction today, what we did 5 years ago when the development agreement was approved, the city agreed to provide funding through our revenue sources that are created by the project for a parking structure that the city owns. So this is a city-owned asset. The revenue at that time was used to construct the asset, the parking garage that the Community Facilities District, which is the city council, owns today. As we move forward, and what we're proposing today is simply using the revenue that's being created from the site and extending the amount of revenue that we use for an additional term of time. So to pay off the garage that we own, so basically a revenue neutral of something that we own already, taking money from one bucket that comes in from revenue from the city and goes into another bucket to pay for a city-owned asset.
Thank you, Mayor. I did vote against this parking structure component, yada, yada. It was a long time ago, but it is a great project. I've got a dear friend who's in first year of medical school at Creighton right now up there. But it's revenue neutral, so it really nothing's changing from a decision that was made 5 years ago. So I'll be supporting this, and thank you for the explanation.
Ooh. Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you. One of the many consequences in the state legislation that was passed without fully understanding what it would do. Roll call.
Guardado.
Yes.
Hodge Washington.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Pastor.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Stark.
Yes.
Waring. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Item 45, a development agreement with IDM.
I move to approve item 45.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We'll begin with Jordan. Followed by Jerry Carlton and Michael Norton.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I only registered to speak if I need to, if there are questions from this body. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. We will maybe come to you after Jerry, followed by Michael. Do we have Jerry?
Madam Mayor.
Perfect.
Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor Ansarma, and City Council members. My name is Jerry Carlton. I am come before you as a longtime resident of Levine and Rogers Ranch 2. Speak on behalf of my colleagues living in this community. We do so to perform and speak on behalf of our neglected neighborhood. Prior to last month's meeting, we submitted a petition to the city. The city responded and said we have to petition the park and the protection of the burrowing owls by Parks and Rec. We did have a news media event, which we invited all of you to go.
And sir, could you connect this to the development agreement with IDM? Otherwise, we will take you in public comment.
No, I'm waiting for public comment.
Okay, perfect. I'm sorry. We just got to try to stick to.
Mike.
We absolutely will take you in public comment. I think we have one remaining comment. Michael?
Mayor Gallego, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. The intergovernmental agreement with IDM provides the opportunity for a privately owned entity to perform a function that would normally be performed by the city: construction of roads and the development of a water line. The city doesn't have the capital to take those projects on right now. The private property owner wishes to do so. The city finds a way to provide the funds for the private property owner to perform functions the city would otherwise perform. We believe that's an excellent platform and an excellent template for future actions. We believe that it is the exact type of opportunity that should be applied to other dormant properties which cannot be developed by the city today, given the limited amount of capital funds. We ask that you take this same concept and apply it to all properties held by the city, which are dormant and cannot be improved because of lack of capital funds. And of course, that includes Rogers Ranch Park. We ask that you apply this very same concept. We support the concept. We support the template. We ask that you apply it beyond roads and pipes and instead also look to the parks that sit dormant. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Any comments? Roll call.
Guardado,
Yes.
Hodge Washington,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pastor,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Waring, Ansari,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Item 46 is also a contract with IDM companies, this related to Shealy Tech Center. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve item 46.
Second.
A motion and a second. I am not sure. I think Jerry, we know, wants to speak. Jerry's registered for this, but I think wants to speak on public comment. And then Jordan available to speak if necessary. I think we're good. Roll call.
Guardado,
Yes.
Hodge Washington,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pastor,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Waring, Ansari,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Right. Item 54 is our intergovernmental agreement with Maricopa County Community College District for paramedic training program, noting Councilman Pastor will not be participating in this item. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve item 54.
Second.
Second, any comments? Roll call.
Guardado,
Yes.
Hodge Washington,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Waring, Ansari, Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 8-0.
Item 59 is MSI Telecom Intercept Wiretap and Surveillance System. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve item 59.
Second.
Jeff Caldwell, followed by Leslie Shepard.
Mayor, Council, this contract will provide wire intercept systems for police departments, Drug Enforcement Bureau to conduct joint complex conspiracy investigations with United States Drug Enforcement Agency and other federal, state, and local agencies. The wiretap system will provide the ability to continue providing wire intercepts, geolocate cellular phones, investigate various crimes, and locate endangered citizens. So this sounds wonderful. However, the company that this is being brought in through is JSI, and they have two tools. One of them is Foresight, and the other one is VoiceBox. We have learned the FBI is, in my opinion, and up for debate at the congressional level, illegally spying on U.S. citizens through their Section 702 searches. The FBI uses VoiceBox. So they actually have an agreement with JSI, and they utilize JSI's contracts in order to spy on us. Furthermore, JSI, as reported by Fast Company, has a contract with ICE, and that comes in at over $22 million. They offer all of the tracking services available, plus Foresight. As Privacy International has noted in a May 2019 report, JSI also contracts with the DEA and the FBI talked about that earlier. This is a quote. It has also received payments from the State Department projects in Guatemala. So if you didn't believe that enforcing the zero tolerancy policy for immigration shouldn't have been enforced, if you vote for this, they're going to use that against Phoenicians. So that's the same company. Thank you.
Leslie.
I'm kind of taking off where he left off. You know, if it is immoral to use the technology against the migrants claiming asylum, and you vote yes on this agenda item, you are approving the same technology to be used against the very people who put you in office and gave you consent to govern. And so we are asking you to definitely not approve this. It says this contract will be provided for, you know, obviously for wiretapping. I mean, what we don't realize is that even if you guys pass this and you're thinking, well, it's okay, it's going to be used well, it's not going to be used well. I mean, we already know that that's already happened with other things where they approved where we can, even this, you know, facial recognition. When you guys pass these types of things, you're part of the, I'm going to say it, the World Economic Forum, where they're just trying to usher in this New World Order plan where they can literally monitor us and keep track of us and see what's going on. So we're asking you, please do not pass this.
Roll call.
Guardado.
Yes.
Hodge Washington.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Pastor.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Stark.
Yes.
Waring. Ansari.
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Item 65 is paint and rubber removal from pavement services. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve item 65.
Second.
James Meyer. James?
Yeah, I want to speak at the end, please. Sorry.
You want to speak to, I'm sorry, what? Did you?
In the public
at the
comment
end.
section.
Okay, perfect.
Sorry about that.
That was
Yeah.
wondering. Thank you, appreciate that. Roll call.
Guardado.
Yes.
Hodge Washington.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Pastor.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Stark.
Yes.
Waring. Ansari.
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Item 67 is FTA grant administration. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve item 68.
Second.
Evan.
Is item 67.
Second.
Jeff Caldwell.
Mayor, Council, currently electric buses are not sustainable. They are scheduled to last for only about 3 years before the battery has to be replaced, and at that time, it's usually less expensive at this moment to purchase a new bus fleet. It's going to cost millions and millions of dollars more than what is expected, and so therefore, this program, in my opinion, unfortunately, is unsustainable. We cannot continue to implement policies that bring in technology that isn't ready to be used over a long period of time. Furthermore, do we have the utility capacity to charge these buses? I am unfamiliar if that has been asked or not. So with that being said, please don't implement the electric buses at this time. Thank you very much.
Councilman Waring.
Thank you. Jeff, Lori, I'm not sure who would answer these questions, and they may not be familiar with this, but my understanding, I'm sure there's other companies doing it. I'm just singling one out, not trying to give them props. It's just something I've read about. So I believe Waste Management is doing a lot of charged vehicles. Also, I think they're already doing in neighborhoods, in some areas, driverless vehicles. So, I mean, obviously, if they can do it, I mean, the garbage truck's got to be driving every day, tons of miles every day. If they can do it, I don't know why we couldn't. Now, a bus will be bigger, but a garbage truck is big and heavy and has a load too. So do you want to just speak to that? Because we have talked about this before. We haven't talked about that recently, though.
Mayor, Councilman Waring, that is correct. You may recall in early 2022, we brought to City Council a fleet transition plan. And what we're basically going to do is start off ordering hybrid buses over the next few years. But we are also starting with small fleets of battery electric and hydrogen fuel cell in small numbers. And our commitment to council at that time was that we would test them over several seasons to make sure they worked before we started purchasing them in large amounts. So we are ordering small amounts, make sure they work, and then if they work, we will roll them out in bigger fleets.
So the genesis of my earlier comments and I guess question were kind of twofold. Number one, couldn't remember when that briefing was. I knew it was probably last year at some point. This isn't all the buses we're ever going to buy. So all the buses aren't going to conk out and we're not going to have any more buses because you bought the electric ones. We did talk about how far they could travel on a charge and all those things. I'm sure that's probably even improved here in the last year. But my underlying point was the private sector, waste management, that's big cash, a lot of prizes. They are moving in this direction. I'm sure they're doing it because there's profit in it for them. And I'm sure we're following their lead and moving in a similar direction. But just like them, we're not doing it all at one time, and we're not doing it to the point where customer service or budgets would be imperiled, correct?
Mayor, Councilman Waring, that is correct. We're being very strategic about what we order and how we assign them. And again, making sure they work before we buy them in larger quantities.
So, Mayor, this may work, it may not. We're not alone in doing this, and it's not just governments doing it either. This is something that a lot of big companies that everybody in this room has heard of are doing, and they're doing it to try to save a buck, guaranteed. So it's just something to consider, but thank you for the explanation.
Thank you, Councilman Waring. I'd add to that, I think Amazon has 10,000 electric delivery vehicles, so these are becoming more and more common. Buses are a very important part of our mobility plans. In Phoenix, we have 13 million bus trips per year. In our region, 25 million trips. So this is an important step towards better transportation and addressing climate change. I'm very appreciative to the bipartisan infrastructure law, which has helped us modernize our transportation system. We will, thanks to the infrastructure law, receive a hybrid electric bus this month, and then 19 more for delivery this spring. And that is just part of the $16.3 million grant we got from the FTA around our bus system. Our state received an Amtrak grant this week to work on transportation between Phoenix and Tucson. And so there's a lot of modernization happening, and I very much appreciate the partnership with FTA.
Mayor, can I make one more point about buses, just kind of at a more global? Just one thing to consider, I've seen studies about this, including our own bus system. The bus ridership is, generally speaking, people who do not have a car and do not have another way to get to their doctor's appointment or work or whatever. They're using it as literally an alternative mode of transportation. Not necessarily so, say, light rail. So the thing I like about the buses is you are moving people who really don't have other options. They don't have a motorcycle. They don't have a vehicle. They can't afford an Uber for everywhere they go. But second, they're also using existing infrastructure. So the more that we can maximize that and drive up bus ridership, the better. So the better the buses perform, the more timeliness of the buses, which has been an issue in the past, but haven't heard any complaints about that as much more in the present day. You know, this is a key component of moving people around the valley. Again, I've been anti-light rail because I think it's too expensive, not efficient for what you get. It's also fixed. If the mall closes or the popular store moves somewhere else and bus ridership, you're tracking it every day, transitions to a different point, you can move the bus stops and you can move the bus routes. So it is an attractive alternative. I don't use it myself, but I understand why people do, and I'm always glad you guys are there facilitating that. Thank you.
Vice Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll just add how excited I am about this. To this day, I think one of the proudest accomplishments, in my view, on the Phoenix City Council for myself has been working on transportation electrification in the city, and following the work we were able to do together, our fleet transition plan has been recognized as one of the most ambitious in the United States. And why this is so important, the mayor touched on a lot of it, but in particular, I think the air quality benefits are so worth talking about and emphasizing when in Phoenix we know we do have air quality challenges. We're ranked nationwide on a list that we don't want to be on for air quality, and by cleaning and transitioning our bus system, it's going to make a big impact. And on a fun note, I'll just add that Jesus came by our office today, and we've already come up with the public campaign for our new electric buses based on Tico, the buses, and Tico's brother Electrico is going to be making a debut, I hope. So very excited, so stay tuned. Thank you.
Very cool. This year, Plug in America picked one city as the EV city that was recognizing a community for their achievements in electric vehicles, and that city is Phoenix, Arizona. So congratulations to public transit, the sustainability team, and everyone in public works and more who've worked on what we're doing in those areas. Roll call.
Guardado,
Yes.
Hodge Washington,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pastor,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Waring, Ansari,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
And I should have congratulated the vice mayor who led our electric vehicle community efforts. Thank you for your work to get us that distinction and, more importantly, to get the work done. Item 68, will the city clerk read the title?
Item 68 is for ordinance G7195, an ordinance amending Chapter 36, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 12, Section 36-158, Schedule 1 of the Phoenix City Code relating to local speed limits at 15 locations.
Do we have a motion?
Move to approve item 68.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Jeff Caldwell, followed by Leslie.
Mayor, Council, when this item was originally presented in the subcommittee a few weeks ago, we didn't have the studies attached to the agenda item. Therefore, we were unable to decipher whether or not these reductions of speed limits would actually enhance safety. Council people on that committee asked that question, and staff said, no, these reductions of speed limits will not enhance safety. So this is not about safety. Now, when we obtained, not we, but when I saw the actual report of the allocation of the speed limits and what the streets can handle, you guys are risking creating dangerous streets with the reduction of the speed limits, because most of these implementations will bring the capacity of miles per hour between below 15% and 30% of road capacity. Engineers have stated that roads should have miles per hour that is equivalent to about 80 to 85% of road capacity. And the reason why is because people will travel the average speed that they feel is safe. And so they don't necessarily correlate that to their miles per hour on their speedometer. So if you've ever driven down the street and you look down and you notice you're speeding, but it doesn't feel like you're speeding, this is that type of situation. There was a staff member in the city of Phoenix, he was a street director from 2014, and he admitted that sometimes the city of Phoenix reduces speed limits and it causes dangerous situations. And so if you have somebody driving 30 miles per hour, the normal feeling is 45, there's a 15 mile per hour speed limit difference between a person abiding by the law versus what it feels like on the road. Thank you.
Leslie is next, followed by Jim.
Sounds like a lot of speed traps are being set up for we the people. That's what it sounds like to me. So, I mean, there's so much here, but really that's the bottom line of all of it. It's just another speed trap, little money-making business going on. Because we already know certain people get little marks on their car and we don't pull you over, you're somebody important, but the rest of us, okay, you're getting a ticket. So, in the subcommittee, this last item was heard. The council members were told that the city staff, the speed limit reductions is pretty much just what he just said. I would say, hey, don't pass this, but wow, after that last one, we were talking about you literally doing something where they're going to be impeding upon our privacy. You guys like blew right through that, every single one of you, even wearing. So hopefully you don't pass it. Thanks.
Jim is next, followed by Jay.
Mayor, Council, I'm Jim Farley. I am a member of the Vision Zero committee, but I am not speaking on the behalf of the committee today. It's my words. I am opposed to these changes. Jay Bieber, in his statement that I believe all of you have received, has laid out in detail the problems, and there's many. I'm going to address just a few. Our streets department did not do a documented engineering study on any of the 15 changes. ADOT requirements, they require a study to be done, a documented study. The traffic count summary they did shows the 85th percentile speed for all of the intersections. The 85th percentile has been used for a long time as the best guide to setting a speed limit. The proposed changes for all 15 streets are significantly lower than the 85th, with no explanation as to why. For example, the 85th percentile speed for McDowell Road in District 6 is 60.3 miles per hour. The proposed limit is 45 miles per hour, 15 miles below the 85th. This differential is setting up a speed trap that will have citations going to many safe drivers. With the median annual income of $30,000 in that zip code, it will be unfairly trapping people for whom a speeding ticket is a real burden. Studies show that lowering speed limits like this do not make drivers drive slower and do not make streets safer. They will, however, increase citizens' distrust of their government. This needs to be sent back to streets for a redo or a cancellation. Thank you.
Jay is next, followed by Ed.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of Council. Jay Bieber, member of the Vision Zero Advisory Committee and member of the Institute for Transportation Engineers. Comments are my own. You all received my email with detailed comments. According to ADOT, quote, before and after studies consistently demonstrate that there are no significant changes in traffic speeds following the posting of new revised speed limits. Speed limits much below the prevailing speed of traffic do not result in lower speeds, but they do create speed traps, subjecting more drivers to increased law enforcement scrutiny. This is especially problematic in low-income communities and communities of color. For example, the Central Avenue location, the city recommends a speed limit of 30 miles per hour where the design of the roadway encourages speeds closer to 50 miles per hour. Per the city's speed studies, this would immediately make more than 90% of the drivers on that roadway into violators. The roadway will also be more dangerous as it would result in significant speed variation. To avoid these problems, Arizona Revised Statutes 28703 requires the establishment of speed limits upon the basis of an engineering and traffic investigation. At none of the 15 locations was a proper engineering and traffic investigation conducted or provided. At 11 locations, the city conducted speed studies which only show the distribution of vehicle speeds, but no other factors necessary to properly determine the speed limit. Engineering and traffic investigations document the engineer's judgment used to determine the speed limit and explain the scientific basis for any variation from the engineering principle of setting the speed limit as near as practicable to the speed that 85% of the drivers consider to be reasonable and prudent based on the roadway design, that is the 85th percentile speed. At all 15 locations, the speed limits are not justified as they vary significantly from the 85th percentile speed, some by as much as 15 to 20 miles per hour. The council should not approve this item as the legal procedures established under Arizona law and accepted engineering principles have not been followed. This means any speed limits approved today may not be legally enforceable, and the speed limit on these roadways would revert to the statutory 65 miles per hour. Would the council object to directing street staff to conduct and document the engineering and traffic investigations required by law and reschedule this item for a study session where the validity of these speed limit recommendations can be discussed in greater detail? Thank you for the extra time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Ed is our final speaker.
Oh, thank you, Mayor and Council. My name is Ed Hermes. I'm also a member of the Vision Zero Street Safety Committee. I guess the third one here in a row, and I'm here in support of this agenda item, very much so. I also serve on the Osborne School District Governing Board, and one of the biggest things that I hear from our families and our parents is that they feel it is unsafe for their kids to walk and bike to school, but especially just to walk and even to be outside on our neighborhood streets. I believe in Vision Zero. I appreciate this council passing Vision Zero. We can't achieve Vision Zero by doing the same things we have been doing. As I've learned on the Vision Zero Street Safety Committee, we're one of the worst, if not the worst, streets in terms of deaths and serious injuries on our streets. We can't achieve Vision Zero by doing the same thing. I appreciate these recommendations. I urge you to vote yes. With one change, we'd like to see in the Osborne community, we'd like to see Osborne Road be 30 miles an hour throughout all of Osborne Road. The staff recommendation is 30 miles an hour for the entirety of Osborne Road. I don't know how that got changed on the agenda to be just a portion of Osborne Road. I live near Osborne and 3rd Street where there would be no change. And my kids too would like to, in our communities, would like to play outside, walk outside. And right now, 35 miles an hour for that neighborhood street is just too fast. So with the change of Osborne Road being all 30 miles an hour throughout, I would ask that you vote yes on this and approve these changes in addition to 30 miles an hour throughout Osborne Road. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you to all of our Vision Zero committee members. Councilwoman O'Brien.
I'm sorry, I had a question for the speaker that was just on the phone.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Hi, this is Ed.
Hi. I just want to clarify your request for Osborne Road is to be the entirety of Osborne Road, not just
correct. So yes, that is correct, Councilwoman O'Brien, for the entirety of Osborne Road. The Osborne School District goes from 19th Street to 19th Avenue. We surveyed our parents about getting to school, and we were trying to reduce congestion. Our parents said, hey, we'd like to walk and bike to school, but doesn't feel safe. We put together a parent committee, parents, staff. We had somebody from the city of Phoenix sit on it. The recommendation came back, one of which was to reduce the speeds on Osborne Road to 30 miles an hour. That's throughout our Osborne School District. We have schools both on the street side as well on the avenue side. And the staff recommendation, if you see it at Phoenix.gov/streets/speed limit change, you can see that recommendation is for the entirety of Osborne Road from 35 miles an hour to 30 miles per hour. We appreciate that staff recommendation. We agree with that, or I certainly agree with that, and would like to see all of Osborne Road be 30 miles an hour to keep that consistent and safe for our kids.
But your definition is from 19th Street to 19th Avenue.
All of Osborne Road, but especially I mentioned those because that's what I looked at from the school district side, because that's our boundaries for the school district.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I appreciate the question.
Councilwoman Stark.
Thank you, Mayor. First and foremost, I sure wish we had enough police officers on motorcycles so we could catch some people speeding on our roads. That make it very dangerous for people who are trying to abide by the laws. So I appreciate what they're trying to do, but I think this actually isn't about Vision Zero. This is more technical in nature, so I'm turning to staff more to get an explanation about why we're changing these speeds. I look at Hatcher Road, for example, from 19th Avenue to 12th Street, and we have done some changes on Hatcher Road. For example, we have made a turn lane on Hatcher Road where it used to be 2 going east, 2 going west. So the conditions has changed. Also, there's a lot of pedestrian activity on Hatcher Road. So when I look at this, I think this is more just a function of cleaning up some of our roads when it comes to the speed requirements. So maybe if staff could speak to that, I would appreciate it. And I'm supportive of this. We do this every 6 months. It's mainly a cleanup, but maybe staff could speak to that. And I know our street transportation director's new, so.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. I do have with me Joe Brown, our new street transportation director, who is 10 days on the job here, so we welcome him here. We do have a PowerPoint presentation to kind of provide an overview of what this item is about, and then we're happy to get into some questions if the mayor and council wish to do that, or you just want us to respond to questions.
I'm fine without a presentation. I know we do this routinely, and I think that's what I'm trying to get it to the point, is this isn't really about Vision Zero. This is more routine, looking at speeds. I look at the speeds along Lincoln. I'm guessing some of those are being changed to be consistent with Paradise Valley. I don't know. But again, if you could just kind of give a brief overview of that I think would answer it. I also think, I appreciate that now you have put the studies on our website. So thank you for doing that.
Correct, Mayor and Councilwoman Stark. This is a standard study process that we do twice a year to look at updating speed limits throughout the city. I will turn over to Joe since he is a traffic engineer and can answer some more details about that.
Madam Mayor and Councilwoman Stark and members of the council, I'm very pleased to be here. And yes, this is a regular adjustment that's done on an annual basis. These are all 5-mile-an-hour adjustments. They're not significant. 3 of them are record keeping, where the speed limit exists, and we're changing it officially to match that speed limit.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I quite frankly, one of the biggest concerns I get from my residents is speeding. They're concerned about speeding. And they're also concerned that we don't have enough motors to enforce speeding regulations. But this, I think, is somewhat different. This isn't really about that. This is more about traffic engineering, reviewing and analyzing and trying to correct some conditions on our roads with the appropriate speed limit, correct?
Madam Mayor, Councilwoman, yes, that's correct.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilwoman Pastor.
Thank you. I sit on the committee, and I was one that voted for this. However, I dug in and started to review further some of the issues, or not issues, really what understanding that I need to have. On page 5, table A, it tells me that the speed limit is 30 miles per hour at all times. That's what they want to change it to. Currently, I believe it's 35. If you look at Osborne Road, Black Canyon Freeway to 19th Avenue, then there's a strike, and then it goes to Osborne Road, Black Canyon Freeway to 7th Avenue. How was that determined, and who determined it?
And so if you could, Madam Mayor and Councilwoman, could you repeat the question again? I mean, you're asking...
I'm asking on page 5, and I know you've only been here for 10 days, and I was hoping that staff had probably prepped you or sat with you in this process. So I'm really sorry to put you on the hot spot right now. But I'm asking on page 5, page 154, I'm sorry. It's page 5, page 154. It says Osborne Road, and then there's a strike through Osborne Road, and originally it was supposed to be Black Canyon Freeway to 19th Avenue. Then you got a new revised one below it that says Osborne Road, Black Canyon Freeway to 7th Avenue. I'm asking why all of a sudden did it get extended from 19th Avenue to 7th Avenue?
So, Mayor and Councilwoman Pastor, what you are looking at in Table A is the existing city code language and where that speed limit has been changed to 35 to 30 already. So the cross-out is Black Canyon Freeway to 19th, and what is being put in its place is Black Canyon Freeway to 7th Avenue.
Yeah, I know.
Based upon that traffic engineering report and analysis and the traffic engineer's judgment within the streets department. So that's what the original one was based on, that's being crossed out from Black Canyon to 19th and being replaced from Black Canyon to 7th Avenue.
Okay. When you add bike lanes and when you add, remove a lane in order to add bike lanes, does it automatically happen where the speed limit then is lowered?
Madam Mayor, Councilwoman, that really depends on the situation
Okay.
and the existing speed and the analysis that goes on during that design process. It may often happen, but it's not necessarily all the time.
Okay. Then I want to go to, if I can continue, because I am. Then I go to Table B, and this is where I think it gets confusing for the public, which is page 165. I go to Table B, and then I go down and I study it again, and now it's saying Osborne Road, 19th Avenue to 36th Street. It now says Osborne Road, 7th Avenue to 36th Street, where in all reality, and the reason why I think it's confusing for public, even confusing for me, if I don't, obviously you can see I'm tearing it apart. What it should really read is Osborne Road all the way to 36th Street. And I think that's what Ed Hermes was trying to say. And so I'm just, it gets confusing after a while. The other piece is that we did add bike lanes from I believe 19th Avenue. We added a bike lane by the request of the community and community outreach from 19th Avenue all the way to 7th Avenue. So I understand how we're cleaning this up, and I'm giving visual purposes for the community. And then from 7th Avenue to about, I want to say 16th Street, it's 2 lanes. And then from 16th Street all the way to 36th, it becomes a 1 lane. So I think what the intent was in the streets department was to make Osborne a bike pedestrian friendly road. And so that is why we are at this moment from Black Canyon to 32nd Street doing what we're doing in order to make it consistent and going from 35 to 30 for the safety of everybody. So I just wanted to do the visual and make sure the public understood, at least on Osborne, as to why decisions were made. And with the community support and studies, we have the evidence of that. So thank you.
So if it turns out there was a clerical error between subcommittee and formal, we can go back and fix it, and we can just commit to taking another look at Osborne when we do this. Next update, you're good? Okay, Councilwoman is good. Great. Councilman Waring.
What's the biggest change in speed in any of these changes? I guess it's 5 miles, right?
Yeah, Council, Mayor and Madam Mayor and Councilman Waring, members of the council, these are not significant changes. No. Nothing here jumps out to me. They're 5 miles an hour You know, for me to say which one really is the most significant, I don't think any of them are significant.
You're
It's-
making 15 actual changes.
We are making 12 actual changes, documenting 3 that already existed with the
I think
signage out
2
there.
of those were in District 2 that were already changed, already been changed. You're just writing it down on a piece of paper. I think I've been through this process, 12 times now. All I can think of is the Who song, Who Are You? God, there's got to be a better way. So every year it's kind of headache inducing, and frankly, I usually vote no, because there's usually increases, but I don't think this time there are. You're making 12 changes, but in our packet, I think there's 37 pages of streets. To Laura's point, every year I get confused. Why would that be the case? Other than, I guess, stupidity? I don't know. But I'll let people tell me that later. But the changes like you're talking about are pretty much imperceptible. I did note that every street that's in District 2, and I drive a lot, that's listed here, either in the 37 pages or in the 15 items, which include the 2 that are already changed in District 2, every one of them we've had complaints about people driving too fast. Many complaints, repeated complaints about most of them, and in 2 of them, speed has been a contributing factor to people driving through walls, not one time, different people, but multiple incidences of people literally winding up in condo apartment complexes' driveways because they drove right through gates, and inexplicable. I've been at both the spots multiple times for these accidents. You're like, how the hell did this even happen? And the one at Dixoletta, where they've driven into people's backyards through brick walls multiple times, driving, again, stupidly. So these are not unknown locations to me. Speed is definitely a factor. So at least posting a different speed is something. So I disagree with the premise that that doesn't matter, rather vehemently, actually. And also to the idea that we're going to set up lots of speed traps. I saw the chief here. I don't know if he's still here. If he is, he can correct me. But I think we have maybe 39. I see Chief Connolly back there. How many motor officers do we actually have out to patrol the 5,000 miles of streets in the city of Phoenix, Chief? Sure. Might illustrate my point that the chances that you're going to get a ticket in a speed trap in the city of Phoenix, you're going to have to work hard to do that. Really hard.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of council, Councilman Waring. 39 is the correct number.
39, look at me, knowing my numbers. That's good to know, Chief. So we couldn't possibly staff all these locations with motor officers, even if we only wanted to do the 12 that we're changing. We don't have enough officers even to do that.
Madam Chair, members of council, Councilman Waring, it'd be very challenging.
Very diplomatic, to use Keisha's word from earlier. So I wouldn't, some of the folks were sort of fixated the idea that this is going to be some sort of boondoggle for the city. I think 39 officers, got to spread it out over 24 hours, got sick days, got people on vacation, so you're not going to have 39 officers every day, all day, 7 days a week. It doesn't work that way. You might have, 15 or 20 out there at a given time. Probably not even that, really, depends on the time, to cover 5,000 miles. I think that's unlikely that this is going to be a financial windfall for the city. Just wanted to put that out there. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you. Councilman Waring is going to try to give Councilwoman Stark a run for her money and who's the biggest fan of the motor units. Roll call.
Guardado.
Yes.
Hodge Washington.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Pastor.
Yes.
Robinson. Stark.
Yes.
Waring. Ansari.
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 8-0.
We now head to the final 2 portions of our council meeting. Next will be planning and zoning matters. On today's agenda, we have 1,328 units of housing, items that we have already approved on the consent agenda include item 97, 127 units of housing, item 98, 363 units of housing, item 99 enables 528 units of housing, and item 101 enables 310 units of housing. We will go next to item 89, which is a final plat for the southeast corner of Baseline Road and 59th Avenue. Do we have a motion? District 8, Councilwoman Hodge Washington.
I move that we approve item 68. I'm sorry, 89, I apologize.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mark Rodriguez.
Hello, Mayor Kate Gallego and members of the Phoenix City Council. It's good to hear from you again. It's because I am here for the 59th Avenue and Baseline to talk about all the buildings that they're building at the housings and restaurants and community and all that stuff from the 59th Avenue and Baseline, even though Raising Cane's is going to open on December 19th and all that stuff. And also, Mayor Gallego, thank you for that birthday card that you sent me, as well as Yasmin Ansari for the birthday card as well. And I hope, Hodge Washington, Yasmin Ansari, I hope you got your holiday card. And anyway, I'm speaking of the 59th Avenue and Baseline. It's because we got a lot of stores and a lot of fitness centers and all that stuff. It's because I'm just waiting for a movie theater to come and all that stuff, because I'm just here for all the stuff that we have in Levine on 59th Avenue and Baseline. It's because I was waiting for a movie theater to come, and it didn't happen, but I'm getting delayed or something like that, because I'm waiting for that, because even though I'm a movie goer, and then the Raising Cane's going to open on December 19th, and then we got a Jack in the Box, a Denny's, a Sprouts grocery store, a Ollie's grocery store, a Bo's and Donuts, and all that other stuff next to the Betty Fairfax High School. It's because I'm just here for all the stuff that I'm here to talk about, that all these stuff that you guys are doing. Is because I'm waiting for it. And Mayor Gallego, once again, I always see you at the parade. And then also Mayor Gallego and the members of the City Council, including Keisha Hodge Washington, is because I'm just excited for all the stuff that we have in Levine on 59th Avenue and Baseline. And that's my time. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Roll call.
Guardado,
Yes.
Hodge Washington,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Pastor,
Yes.
Robinson, Stark,
Yes.
Waring, Ansari,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 8-0.
Mark, thanks for joining us. We next go to item 100, also in District 8. Councilwoman, do you have a motion?
Yes. I move that we approve item 100.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We have 2 speakers in support and 1 in opposition. We'll start with Morningstar Bloom, followed by Nick Wood.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Morningstar Bloom. I'm here representing Worker Power. We're extremely concerned about the Here Hotel proposed for 965 East Van Buren because of its impact on the community. At the site of the proposed hotel project, the Valley Inn is currently filling a crucial need in the city of Phoenix, transitional housing for those experiencing homelessness, so they are not forced to live on the street. Since 2017, the population of people experiencing homelessness has more than doubled. In a city where there already aren't enough shelter beds and transitional housing options to deal with the scope of the problem, holding on to every available transitional housing unit is crucial. The land for this project is incredibly valuable because of its proximity to the light rail and the rest of downtown. In choosing to amend the zoning code to put a larger hotel on this site rather than housing, we miss a crucial opportunity to help make up the gap in constructing new homes and apartments. The Maricopa Association of Governments has determined that the region's population has grown at twice the rate of construction of new homes and apartments since 2010, and the present housing crisis has been manufactured through planning decisions like this one, where we greenlight the building of more hotels for out-of-town tourists when we need housing for Phoenix's workforce. By letting a site like this one, which is so close to the light rail and is seeking approval for a much taller, denser building than is currently there, languish as a hotel, We failed to meet the transit-supportive land uses and dense residential goals outlined in the city's TOD policies because all of the most crucial community benefits available in the zoning designation are left on the table if the site is used as a hotel. Thank you.
Thank you. Nick is next, followed by our final speaker, Armando.
Mayor, members of the council, Nick Wood, Snell and Wilmer, 1 East Washington Street, and I represent David Ahir and his family, and Reed Butler, their partners here. Mayor, I didn't hear much by way of opposition to the actual use and the land plan itself, so I don't really think I need to make a presentation. I'll save us some time.
Thank you. That was efficient. Armando.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council members. My name is Armando Jenkins. I am a resident and have been a resident of the Booker T. Washington neighborhood. That neighborhood directly sits to the south of the site in question that the Ahir family wishes to develop. We have found the Ahir family to be the best of neighbors, not just business owners. I share an actual boundary, a wall with the Ahir family's property. That's a boundary that's always been respected. That's always one that's been taken care of, maintained. We, as a neighbor, and I can speak for my neighbors as well, I said I've been there for 34 years. They've been a great neighbor. They've been a great part of our neighborhood. And we are in support of this development. We understand it is a hotel. They actually started the process prior to the pandemic and were most welcoming and engaging to us as neighbors. When the pandemic stopped that, of course, that came to an end, but when they resumed these talks, again, it meant almost all of my neighbors have had an opportunity to speak with the family. We've expressed concerns, we've made requests to change some of the things that they had planned out originally. One of the things is we have a concern about parking spilling over into our neighborhood. So we asked them to consider, instead of just their surface lot, to build a garage. They came back a month or two later with the design for a 2-story garage. We asked for, to speak about a variance on a wall to create a higher boundary. Same thing. They came back within a month with a proposed change. They have always worked with us. They continue to work with us. We appreciate and would like to continue the certainty of knowing we have our good neighbors to the north. And like I said, I speak on behalf of myself and all of our neighbors. We ask that you approve this, and we'd like to see this develop. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments? Councilwoman Hodge Washington.
Thank you. While I do acknowledge the opposition's need for housing needs in our district, we also need to make sure we have a variety of also workforce opportunities for our residents. I think as evidenced by the votes taken at the Village Planning and the Village Planning Committee as well as the Planning Commission, there was sufficient outreach and the property owner worked with the adjacent neighbors. So I'm going to move to approve this. I'm in support of this project.
Thank you. And I believe we already had a second. So roll call.
Guardado.
Yes.
Hodge Washington.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Pastor.
Yes.
Stark.
Yes.
Waring. Sorry, thank you. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 8-0.
Thank you. I believe item 102 was already continued, but our staff would like us to vote again. Yes, so do we have a motion to continue 102?
I move to continue item 102.
Second. To January, let me add.
Do we need to say it?
Yes.
All?
Yes.
I
This,
move-
this item should appear as part of, no. Motion to continue to January 3rd, 2024 to formal meeting.
All right.
Second.
Sorry.
Motion and a second. We can do a voice vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay. Passes unanimously. We next go to item 105, which is the northeast corner of Central Avenue and Pearson. I believe we will have 5-minute presentations from each side during the public hearing. If they wish to make a presentations and then go to a motion, we do not need a staff report.
No.
All right, so we'll begin with Ken Waters, followed by the applicant.
I am being blindsided here on what's happening. I was told to upload a presentation this morning, and I did. Then I got a call from Josh that I wouldn't be given presentation time. And now I'm being given presentation time, and I don't have my laptop and my iPad hooked up to be prepared. So can you give me a moment to link up with your? I know, but I need to see it because it's like far away. Okay, well, yeah, I'll see. Okay, bingo, go for it.
Would you prefer we have Ed go first, the applicant?
Yes, please.
Okay. Are you ready?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Mayor Council. Ed Bull, 1850 North Central Avenue, and yes, I'm a registered lobbyist. The essence of this application is an extension of the zoning and then to modify some stipulations to provide additional monies for traffic calming and so on. If we could go to the next slide, please. We're here with not only the PHO's recommendation for approval, but a unanimous Alhambra Village Planning Committee recommendation for approval, then the PHO's approval, which is appealed by Mr. Waters to the Planning Commission, which unanimously denied the appeal, and now we're here today. Next slide, please. The essence of what's in front of you is the zoning was approved in 2016 for a variety of reasons that I can go into if you want. The development did not get built. About halfway down the page, we're talking about modifying stipulation 2. That's to add additional dollars to a traffic mitigation fund. To delete stipulation 4, that was a previously anticipated temporary gravel path along the west side of First Street. Since then, sidewalks have been added to the east side of First Street, and everyone that I know of that's interested in the community and the nearby schools has said they didn't want a gravel path. The sidewalks are fine. Stipulation 5 is the 3-year stipulation, and then stipulation 6 we added to document in a stipulation, which was not a stipulation in the original case, but document in a stipulation that there'd be a minimum of 4,700 square feet of ground floor non-residential uses along Central Avenue. I don't want to steal his thunder, but I anticipate Mr. Waters today, as in other hearings, believes 4,700 is not enough. And he believes that we should extend non-commercial uses down Pearson. We have real concerns with viability of extending commercial down Pearson Street toward the neighborhood, and we've never discussed with the neighborhood north of Brophy whether they'd like commercial extended down close to them. But be it as it may, the 4,700 documents what was shown on conceptual site plans when the zoning was originally approved. And importantly, I believe it says a minimum of 4,700 square feet. If market conditions change and viable commercial can extend down streets further to the east from Central, so be it. The stipulations doesn't preclude it. It just requires a minimum of 4,700. So we'd request that you agree with the Alhambra Village, with the PHO and the Planning Commission, and approve these stipulation modifications. I'd like to reserve the rest of my time for rebuttal, if I may.
All right, that's okay. Thank you. Mr. Waters.
Thank you. I want to express thanks to Councilwoman Pastor, I think, for allowing this presentation to happen. I was under the impression I was only getting 2 minutes of public comment. So anyways, slide number 1. The light rail transit, TOD, is a symbiotic system, transit-oriented development. It's not transit-adjacent development. It's not transit-exploited development where developers just put up. It's next to light rail, and that's about it, and they exploit the system. We're putting up transit-oriented development. Thus, leadership's primary goal for the TOD goal is to entice Phoenicians to leave their cars behind. Let me repeat that. We're spending billions of taxpayer dollars on this TOD system, light rail system, and it's the city's responsibility with this massive investment in the light rail system to entice Phoenicians along the Central Avenue corridor and the surrounding neighborhoods to leave their cars behind. Thus, we are building out the walkable urban lifestyle infrastructure along Central Avenue. Walkable urban lifestyle infrastructure, that's what we're doing. So the bottom floor needs to be mixed use, not single use apartments, because if you extrapolate decades down the road and we put 100,000 units along this TOD system, I mean, without attractions and destinations, we're going to have traffic Armageddon. So the objective is to entice Phoenicians along the TOD corridor to leave their cars behind. Okay. Might help. Okay. Okay, here's a photograph of the overview of Uptown. There, at the top there is Camelback, and this is just below Camelback, right next to the One Camelback Tower. And this is the same group that spent 5 years on converting the Camelback One Towers, and it got foreclosed on November 21st. But this is the same group. Now, they're coming for an extension. Do they deserve an extension? Let's see. What are they going to do? I mean, they're just asking for an extension. I would say let's leverage this moment. And what are you going to do to contribute to enticing people to leave their cars behind? And I'm proposing that 4,700 square feet just along Central Avenue is a, next slide, is a mere pittance to that contribution. And the actual better retail space you can see is along Pearson, because the northbound traffic of Central Avenue is going to be looking at Pearson. And here's the next one. Right there. I would much rather have that retail located along Pearson, where you got all that traffic from day in, day out, month out, year out. They're looking straight at your retail site there. So this is not a big ask, going from 4,000 to 11,000 square feet. And there's another look. There's St. Francis neighborhood behind that. This site also used to be retail. So the city is now going backward with its TOD in that goal to entice people to leave their cars behind. Because this used to be a Kinko's, Copy Center, and other retail things. But now, you know, we're just building single-use apartments on our Main Street USA corridor, our TOD corridor, on a transit-oriented development corridor. And oriented means mixed use, putting a strong contribution towards that mixed use. Okay. There's the site. This is looking at from Central and Camelback to the site. It's right there at Central and Camelback. This is from the intersection of Central and Camelback. And there's Applebee's on the north, the Uptown. That's one of the most popular, successful retail centers in the state, in the city, I mean. This is from economic development. Look at that. Vacancy is 4.5 of the retail. This is for Midtown, but Uptown is probably even better than this. I just wanted to highlight 4.5% vacancy on that of retail. This is retail space. And there, economic development said that the Melrose is hot. Well, can't you make your own Main Street USA TOD corridor hot as well? Why is Melrose the only hot area in Midtown? So this is the last slide. This is not a big ask. 4,700 square feet along Central Avenue. Expand it to 11,000 square feet. The job of this city is to entice Phoenicians to leave their cars behind, and that means we've got to build out the walkable urban lifestyle infrastructure. And those words come from Josh Benarek, who said that's what you should be making the argument on, building the walkable urban lifestyle infrastructure. So all I'm asking is that we increase that component and start building out the walkable urban lifestyle to entice people to leave their cars behind and come out to Central. instead of going to their garages and getting in their cars and packing the streets. So thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you. Mr. Bull, 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor. You might find this shocking, but I do not agree with Mr. Waters on what is or isn't a big ask. The reality is that when this property was zoned, it showed approximately 4,700 square feet conceptually for non-residential uses on the ground floor. Purposefully focused on the Central Avenue frontage, purposely not extending down Pearson toward the neighborhood to the east. This is a big ask, but irrespective of the square footage that's involved, there is no goal, policy, or desire that I'm aware of that this city council would use to force somebody to create what would be most likely non-viable, non-financeable, non-leasable, non-sustainable ground floor retail uses. There's a chance that it can be financed and viable along the Central Avenue frontage. And that's the goal and desire, and that's what we've added as a stipulation. We've requested the additional time. We've agreed to put additional money into the city's traffic calming fund. We've agreed to do this and that, but I cannot, in good faith, agree on behalf of a client to a stipulation that no developer I've talked with, no financial person I've talked with believes would be viable, and that's to require 11,000 square feet on this site that has a minimal amount of frontage. If you want to consider the bank pad to the north as being retail, it exists and it'll continue to exist. It's not a part of this development, but it's there on Central Avenue and it will stay. We request your approval in accordance with the recommendations that have come to you today. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeremy Thacker is our final speaker on 105.
I love Kenny. I consider him to be a very good friend, an infuriating friend, to be clear. But with this, I do disagree with him. And I want to make a plea to him and to the council today that no one person should be allowed to delay good projects that cost billions of dollars for months and slow down the progress of what's happening in the city on good projects. This is a good project. Kenny doesn't bring up the fact that Uptown Plaza has hundreds of thousands of square feet of retail with no residential attached to it, right across the street. So there is a balance that happens here. We don't need to have the bottom floor plate of every development with commercial along the TOD to make it TOD. That is just not true. And it's not represented by any studies or any evidence, just one man's opinion. And one man that I think has very good intentions, but that is misrepresenting and doing damage to what we're trying to accomplish here. So I support this project, and I think we need to change the system that one person shouldn't be able to protest a PHO hearing and be able to cause a development to be delayed for months. That is problematic. That is hundreds of thousands of dollars wasted, and potentially much more than that. So thank you.
Thank you. We'll close the public hearing, and I'll turn to Councilwoman Pastor.
Thank you for listening to that. The two projects when I first got onto council were Omni West and Omni East. And this is Omni East. And they were very contentious and I did my due diligence in really working with the neighborhood on both sides. All this is an extension because in there I put a stipulation. And I put a stipulation saying after 7 years, you have to come back to the council to ask for an extension of what you want to do on that property. Once the extension expires, then, and nothing has been built, then it goes back into the process, and the neighbors will then at that time determine what they really want if nothing is built on that property. So this is really an extension. They're asking for an extension. And I understand the activation that is wanted on this property, but I'm being consistent with the Omni West, and this one's the Omni East, and I'm going to be consistent in the sense of I'm going to honor what the process they went through and make a motion to approve per the Planning Commission recommendation and adopt the related ordinance.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any comments? Roll call.
Guardado.
Yes.
Hodge Washington.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Pastor.
Yes.
Stark.
Yes.
Waring. Ansari.
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 8-0.
Right, that concludes the agendized portion of today's meeting, and we'll now turn to our city attorney to explain the public comment portion.
Thank you, Mayor. During citizen comment, members of the public may address the City Council for up to 3 minutes on issues of interest or concern. The citizen comment session is limited to 30 minutes. The Arizona Open Meeting Law permits the City Council to listen to the comments, but prohibits council members from discussing or acting on the matters presented.
Thank you. We'll begin with Jerry Carlton, followed by Michael Norton.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, Madam Vice Chair, City Council members. My name is Jerry Carlton, and I represent the Rogers Ranch Residents Committee. We came before you last month about our neglected neighborhood. We submitted a petition, and we later find out that the petition should go to Parks and Rec about Rogers Ranch Park. We also submitted that petition according to the instructions and directions we were given. Now we're in a conundrum of what to do with the petition. We are attempting to get our park built after 20 years. We are also trying to find out where this petition needs to go. It's very important for us to deal with this. We had a news media event on 11/17, of which you were all invited. Vice Mayor Ansari, this is in your backyard. We appreciate the city sending Parks and Rec people out to that news release, but we are still concerned about the burrowing owls. Okay, the news media reported the burrowing owls are there, they're alive, they exist. It's mating season. Okay, the last time we had a problem with that, we had construction equipment go out on the lot and destroy the burrowing owl homes and killed the burrowing owls as well. Well, they are back and they're not going anywhere. It's your duty to protect the owls. So we anticipate a lot of incoming impact fees from IDM, Leon Capital. Additionally, Butler Homes plans to build an even larger project south in Levine. These projects will provide more than impact fees required for the Rogers Ranch Park. Given the urgency of the burrowing owl issue, we submit to you that Rogers Ranch Park should be planned and built now and not on the master plan scheduled for 2025. Our petition simply states we need the city council and other government entities such as Parks and Rec to agendize these decisions about funding the construction of the park and protecting the owls. We request the city to do so, as well as the city council. If the city is unable to promise to fund the development of the Rogers Ranch Park sooner than the end of fiscal year 25, we petition the city to deed the vacant lot back to Rogers Ranch 2 Master Plan Community. Third, burrowing owls have made the dirt their home. There's a legal duty for you to protect them.
We'll go next to Michael Norton and then James Meyer. James Mayer.
Mayor Gallego, thank you for the opportunity to speak today.
As we have discussed several times over the last few months, we've come to the conclusion that the city's process for funding the development of parks is fatally flawed and suffering from systemic failure. When the vacant lots that have been deeded for the purpose of creating a park have reached 20, 30, and 40 years of age before any action is even considered, let alone taken, it really should be concluded that this process has failed. If we were unable to build a road that was needed for 40 years or put a pipeline in for 40 years, we would find a means of creating a funding mechanism. When a park sits dormant in the middle of a community that expected it to be an addition to the value of their community instead of a blight and a draw on the value of the community, for some reason that's ignored. When we first talked about filing a petition with the city, we realized that the petition puts a burden on the city to act. We realized that it is a part of the charter that when we send the petition to you, you're required to act. We also realize that the deflection that came back to us in the last week is not accurate. You really must act on the petition, as you know, and as was proven in 2017. We talked about drafting a petition that required the city to give back to any property grantor any park property that sat dormant for 10 years without being developed. That may be the next petition that we submit if the one that we have already sent to you continues to be ignored. We are considering that petition. It would, in fact, draw dozens of other properties into this same equation, and perhaps that's the right way to do it, and perhaps it's not, but we want action taken on the Rogers Ranch Park, and we want it now. Thank you.
Thank you. James Meyer is next, followed by Terry Hoffman.
Hi there, this is James Mayer. I live in District 5. I wanted to say thanks to all of you and Caleb Ziegler, our Community Action Officer, for helping to get Grand Canyon University to start policing the Little Canyon Trail. It's always clean when I ride by there now, and I haven't seen any student parties out there. I also wanted to say that myself and my landlord, Mr. Gail Palmer, have questions and concerns about this most recent abandonment by GCU. And I'm composing an email right now to all of you mentioning those questions. If y'all could look out for that, that would be awesome. And thank you again for all your good work. And I look forward to working with you soon. Have a good day.
Thank you. Terry is next, followed by Ana Martinez.
That's so funny. So thank you to everyone on the council, and I reached out to several of you in last month about Meatball. Meatball was an owned dog who was an emotional support animal for a vulnerable adult who is also disabled. And because of your reaction and support in coordinating with the Phoenix City and the liaison for the Phoenix Police Department, Meatball is home safe. He miraculously showed up on the doorstep with a new collar or harness and well-fed and clean. So we're very grateful that the police department responded. So I do want, since I have 3 minutes, and I do want to just mention that Meatball's situation did not have to happen. The reason it happened was there are no resources for animals after 5 o'clock on weekends and 6 o'clock on the weekdays. Many people have a misconception because over $3 million are sent to the Arizona Humane Society and Maricopa County Animal Care and Control that box is checked. There are resources for animals, but who has ever seen an animal wear a watch? So imagine you're driving to dinner and you see a stray animal that's been hit by a car and he's limping. He's not dying, but he's limping. So if you try to assist that animal, you will be driving from vet clinic to vet clinic and you'll be turned away because if the dog is not in an active seizure or vitals are dropping dramatically, you will be turned away. They don't have room for injured animals. It's an emergent hospital. So just like, they triage just like anything else. So Meatball brings a great opportunity to highlight the fact that there are no resources. What would you guys do if you're on the way to the opera or the ballet or dinner and you see an animal suffering? So I'm the founder of Animal Rights Champions of Arizona. I am happy to provide facts, case study after case study, actual cases of where animals are not getting resources after hours or on holidays. Right now, Maricopa County has almost 1,000 animals in their care. Their ideal limit is around under 600. This is the deadliest time for animals or to be a dog, because right now breeders are flooding the market with puppies, and dogs will be surrendered to Maricopa County Animal Care and Control, and there's no room for them, but they know that the fireworks are happening. So right now they're going to be revving up the euthanasia to make room for all the firework bolting dogs, and animals will be surrendered. Thank you for the extra time. And thank you, Meatball, and I will be sending you guys a thank you and some of the recommendations.
Thank you. Ana Martinez is next, followed by Carson Robeson.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. My name is Ana Martinez. I am an organizer with Unite Here Local 11. This week, workers from SSP America filed twin complaints with Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays and the City of Phoenix Equal Opportunity Department, alleging discrimination in promotions and hiring on the basis of race. The complaints allege that SSP employs a tap-on-the-shoulder approach to hiring and promotion that facilitates racial bias by screening out qualified applicants of color in favor of white job candidates. The complaints assert SSP policies have contributed to significant disparities in earnings and job opportunities described in the complaint, warranting further investigation. These disparities have a dramatic impact on worker salaries. On average, Black employees make $16,841.31 less per year than white employees, while Latino workers make on average $13,742.54 less than white workers. In addition, in September, workers filed complaints requesting that the Arizona Department of Occupational Safety and Health investigate claims of what appeared to be rats and cockroaches at airport establishments. Since then, not only have workers seen more cockroaches, but I witnessed what appeared to be a cockroach firsthand at the SSP America commissary. We've since requested information from SSP America as to the measures they've taken to resolve the vermin issues, but have had to file unfair labor practice charges for their failure to provide this information. According to the company's lease with the City of Phoenix, SSP America is responsible for exterminating and preventing the presence of rodents and other vermin within the premises. Also, as part of the terms of SSP America's lease, the company commits to abide by the city's equal employment opportunity requirements, which prohibit racial and ethnic discrimination in hiring, promotion, transfer, and other terms of employment. Under the contract, failure to abide by the city's non-discrimination policies could be grounds for the city to revoke all or part of the company's lease. The City of Phoenix can and should do better.
Thank you. Carson is next, followed by Brian Allen.
I would like for my comment to follow Jeremy Thacker's. Is it possible?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Carson Robeson. I'm here representing the small group communications class at Phoenix College. We have decided that our class service project is to ensure the small group of the City Council is obeying the charter regarding citizens' petitions. Citizens' petitions were included in the charter as an assurance that citizens would have a voice and be able to hold the council accountable. The fact that the city has not been following the mandates of the charter is disturbing and moved our class to prioritize this issue until it's resolved. As a young citizen of the city of Phoenix, I find it concerning that the city council is unable to obey the charter regarding citizens. The future lies within all of you to make sure that all citizens of Phoenix's voices are heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian is next, followed by Jeff Caldwell.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and City Council. My name is Bishop Brian Allen, pastor of the Sun Valley Worship Center here in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm here to support the United Here Local 11. We have observed that SSP America is operating in our airport with a behavior that we see as racially impacting. These brave workers have filed not only one, but 2 discrimination cases against them. And I'm here today to support them as a local pastor. Some of the information, the statements have been made about the disparity as far as the amount of salary that's being paid. We want our city council and our mayor to investigate this, at least look into these numbers. We filed a complaint with the EOD, the director, Donald Logan, and as we have concluded our Thanksgiving season, and we are about to embark upon our holiday season, let's make it merry, not just for a few, but let's make it merry for everyone. I'd like to also let it be known that Dr. Martin Luther King eloquently made a statement that an injustice anywhere actually threatens justice everywhere. So as I quote the book of Isaiah in its 9th chapter in verse number 6, it says, "Unto us a son is given, unto us a child is born, and the government shall be upon his shoulders." I'm asking that this city government please address these workers' issues and see what we can do about investigating these racial disparaging numbers and see what we can do to help these people have a happy and a Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Jeff is next, followed by Leonard Clark.
Mayor, Council, I have a few items. Number one, if we voted to reduce the traffic but then don't have the ability, or the miles per hour, but don't have the police force to back it up, are we wasting tax dollars in doing so? How much does that project cost? We don't know. It's not listed in the agenda. So that's the first thing. The second thing, I highly recommend City Council read a report from the Federal Reserve Presidents of Chicago, Federal Reserve, and it's called Pushing Bonds Over the Edge, Monetary Policy and Municipal Bond Liquidity, because that is where the Federal Reserve presidents are warning us to stop issuing more municipal bonds that are insecure, like the GO bonds. The third thing is, please do not support the consent decree. Please tell the DOJ that their time has expired here. They haven't found anything, and it's time to go back to Washington, D.C. Another item, stop implementing road diets and removing traffic lanes. We just heard that city staff is trying to tell you guys that we need to reduce people using cars. It's what we've been talking about, me and other people, for the past few months. TODs are 20-minute cities. That's a 20-minute walking distance zone through the C40 apparatus, which the mayor is the vice chair of the steering committee. So TODs are not a good deal. And I actually found a Department of Transportation study that our tax dollars paid for, and it has been removed from the Department of Transportation's website. It actually is a scientific document. Therefore, it should be readily available for the public, and it should be what is used in order to compare what policies are implemented versus what has been studied. The policies that are being implemented today are theory, and what was studied were the road diets already implemented. And what this is, it's called evaluation of lane reduction, road diets, measures, and their effects on crashes and injuries. I was able to put this in the Wayback Machine. It is no longer available unless you go to the Wayback Machine. This study states that if you implement road diets on traffic lanes that have 20,000 or more vehicles, you will create more congestion and more car wrecks. I found it off of an ABC article. Thank you.
Thank you. Leonard Clark is next.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. It's been a while since I've been here. I'd just like to start off with, I was looking into societal collapse. We have all of this anarchy going on. We have the Hamas left. We have the Taliban right. But in the middle somewhere is supposed to be American civilization. So I was looking at this, and it was giving one of the definitions for societal collapse, also known as civilizational collapse or systems collapse, is the fall of a complex human society characterized by the loss of cultural identity and of social complexity as an adaptive system, the downfall of government and the rise of violence. So I guess what I'm trying to say is since October 7th of 2023, I was a progressive. I'm no longer a progressive. I just call myself an American now and a world citizen because, whether it's innocent children being killed in Gaza or innocent children being slaughtered by terrorist Hamas, we're in the middle. I think both sides can agree that we're against the slaughter of children. But that being said, I don't think we should be parading out. We have to beware. We have TikTok now. We have people on TikTok praising bin Laden. We have our young people and some of our older people praising that. And I just think instead of, telling us we have to choose between two gangs as Americans, I either have to choose Trump or I have to choose people who support terrorist Hamas. How about just being an American? I think it's a dangerous thing just to be an American in Phoenix. If I go down to ASU downtown campus, or even though it's not in Phoenix, Tempe, and I say I support Israel, I'm in danger of being lynched. So Dr. Martin Luther King, he is the person I look up to. I don't look up to Rashida Tlaib. I don't look up to the Squad. I look up to Dr. Martin Luther King, Cesar Chavez, Mahatma Gandhi. They did not preach violence against somebody, and especially Dr. King, you look at the content of a person's character, not the color of their skin. So I've had my eyes opened, and I think everybody needs to take a step back and take a deep breath. But I am not ashamed to say I'm an American, and I'm not ashamed to say I'm a Westerner. So I'm sorry, I don't condemn you for being white, black, brown, or yellow. That's the essence of being an American. So all this talk about it's all the brown people's fault, it's crossing the border, it's the white people's fault, it's the black people. No, these extremists, these Marxists on the left and these Taliban on the right, they want us to choose a gang. How about just being an American and supporting human rights? But we're just put in the middle now. Choose a gang. I refuse to choose a gang. I'm going to live a dangerous concept. I'm going to be an American. And I think in the city of Phoenix, many other people feel the way I do. Okay? Just because I don't condemn Israel doesn't mean I support Hamas. And just because I support Israel doesn't mean I support Hamas. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jasmine Glass, followed by Almadi Fardallah.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. My name is Jasmine Glass, and I have worked continuously for SSP for over a year. In my time there, I've seen firsthand SSP's discriminatory practices. I am a cashier, but have wanted to become a server for quite some time. Twice I was asked by management to work as a server to fill gaps in the schedule. However, when I asked to be promoted to server, I was given excuses ranging from my attendance to having to know every liquor in the restaurant. Meanwhile, I've watched the company hire multiple servers off the street, almost all white people. It's not right that the opportunity to be a bartender or server, AKA the highest paying jobs, is not fairly given to minority workers. The recent study published by the Grand Canyon Institute and Worker Power Institute found that 80% of black workers make less than $800 a week. According to SSP's August roster, out of roughly 125 servers and bartenders employed by SSP America, only 8 servers were black, and there are 0 black bartenders. You can't hear those numbers and not know something is wrong. This week we filed 2 complaints, one with the city's Equal Opportunity Department and one with Arizona Attorney's General Office, alleging that SSP America's hiring and promotion practices facilitate racial bias. This is serious. Phoenix City Council needs to take the issue of racial discrimination seriously and hold SSP America and other airport companies accountable for compliance with all applicable anti-discrimination laws. Thank you.
Next is Almadi Fardallah, followed by Michael Smith. Is Almadi here?
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. My name is Almadi Fardallah. I go by ARC to keep it simple. I am a cashier for SSP America at Sky Harbor International Airport, where I've worked for the last year. Over this time that I've worked for SSP, I have expressed my desire to be considered to be for the promotion of bartender position at SSP. I've even gone out of my way to obtain an Arizona Title IV alcohol handler's license from the state of Arizona in my spare time using my own funds to ensure that I am qualified. However, I am continuously met with ridiculous excuses from management. I then get sent from one manager to the next in an endless cycle that somehow never ends up in an interview. Tipped positions like servers and bartenders are the highest paid positions in the food and beverage industry. There are only 8 black servers at SSP America and 0 black bartenders at SSP America, according to their August rosters. In total, there are over 120 servers and bartender positions. This math does not add up in any good way. A study conducted by the Grand Canyon Institute showed that black workers at the airport are much more likely to be employed in the lowest income categories. This is not surprising after hearing those numbers. I work hard every day to make Sky Harbor America's friendliest airport, and I'm very good at what I do. SSP chooses to hire white servers and bartenders from off the street, but they won't give me the opportunity to move up and advance my career. How am I supposed to feel? This is not right. It makes me feel like there's really no option for growth, no option to move up. I work there full time and I live in my car. I cannot afford to stay housed. I feel like the deck is stacked against me at this time. This week we filed a complaint alleging discrimination in promotions and hiring based on race because SSP America, as a city contractor, must be held accountable. The city council must take actions to ensure that airport concessionaires are living up to their obligations of non-discrimination. so that hardworking Phoenix residents have an opportunity to get ahead in life. Thank you.
Thank you. We have 30 minutes allotted for public comment at the end of these meetings, so our final speaker will be Michael Smith. This is standard practice. They're always 30 minutes. We could have you be the first speaker at the next meeting.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Okay, this is standard practice for every single city council meeting. We have.
Let's please hear the speaker that's been called. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, Vice Mayor, City Council. My name is Michael Smith. I'm from Savannah, Georgia, and I work for SSP as a cook and utility for over a year now. I have witnessed firsthand the terrible working conditions which SSP and the city of Phoenix allow. As a walk cook at Payway, I have seen what appeared to be cockroaches in and around my cooking station on numerous occasions. Another time, a cashier came to get napkins from a box near my station. When she pulled the stack down, a truly disgusting amount of cockroaches scattered out in every direction. Too many to count. The city of Phoenix and its contractors need to take the health and safety of their employees as well as our guests seriously. I have been cooking since I was small with my grandmama. I enjoy cooking. I don't feel comfortable or safe working in these conditions. Something has to change. We have filed 2 complaints with ADOS about the alleged vermin issues. As you know, this week we filed 2 complaints alleging racial discrimination in pay, hiring, and promotion. The City Council needs to act.
And just to state that I got clarification, the rules allow citizen comment to be limited to 30 minutes. However, since you have a citizen petition, we'll just let you go ahead, and this will be our final comment. Thank you.
Before I get to the petition, this is ridiculous. First of all, I was the first one here, ahead of the other commenters, and the fact that I'm getting left out of it, it's just a problem with procedurally, which is ridiculous. Then please look at me. Look next to you. How disrespectful that the mayor and 3 other council, maybe 4, have left. We waited here for 3 hours.
If you could just focus on the citizen petition, that would be great.
It's my public comment. No, I won't. My citizen petition is on the city's handling of citizen petitions. That you have been committing charter violations and open meeting law violations by not handling them correctly. And for those of you who are new, the city charter is very clear and it's very simple about citizen petitions. Any citizen of the city may appear before the council at any regular meeting and present a written petition. Such petition shall be acted upon by the council in the regular course of business within 15 days. That is it. That's what it says. There's no buts, there's no exceptions to it. I submitted a petition earlier this year, exactly April 19th. It was heard by the council on May 31st. Is that 15 days? It's not. It's just a complete violation of the charter that each of you is responsible for. And I go on to show you that the mayor has single-handedly, she changed it. These weren't even heard by the full council for the last 3 years. Citizen petitions, like ethics complaints, have gotten put in a drawer and moved away so nobody has to hear them. This time will not be the case. This is to be heard by the full council within 15 days. So not only at the next meeting am I not going to be presenting it, I'm going to be here and we should be discussing it and you should be taking action on this petition. And the fact that you were just going to dismiss anyone who wasn't willing to stand up and say that is problematic. It's part of the charter. So maybe you should look at your procedures and say, hey, do we have any citizen petitions here today? Maybe that should be part of the registry to make sure that these get heard. Because you can't just change it by the code and changing your meeting agendas. So here's the petition. I hope it gets to all of you, and I hope you consider it. And I hope you all shame your other council members and the mayor for completely disrespecting citizens who sit here for 3 hours to be heard for 3 goddamn minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. This meeting is adjourned.
Experiences and opportunities that impact citizens and the very community as a whole. Every recipient on stage tonight was involved in saving or prolonging a life. In many cases, their actions involved endangering their own lives in the process. In many of these instances, officers intervened to risk their own personal safety in order to save people in life-threatening situations